Just
Hi, this is Elizabeth and Elt in Brewington, and today we're trying to record about 9/11. My own cousin, who was a little child, was in that building and he lost his voice and stopped speaking for many, many years. And when you think about trauma with adults, but when you think about children and what they go through, and I'm here with an author, Joanne Wagner, who you might have seen before, and she's with Mama Picklesworth Corner, and she's going to offer some comfort to those children. And if you have a child that has some kind of trauma, her books have great illustrations and they are very motivating. And we hope that your child can learn to read and find some comfort. And Bill Wagner is the publisher of Sir Picklesworth, and he's going to share his screen, and we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about 9/11. So over to you, Joanne and Bill. And while Joanne is doing the intro, Bill will share his screen.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here this evening. Thank you for sharing your heartbreaking stories. I mean, I was in Texas when that happened, but I'm a native New Yorker. I was born and grew up in Manhattan. And I didn't even know what was going on that day. I was homesick. I had had surgery. I was homesick from work. And my aunt called me hysterical. And I immediately thought something happened to a family member. And aren't you watching the TV? So, the next few days I was just glued to that TV. And it's just heartbreaking to me to hear these stories of people who were actually there. Thankfully, I didn't lose anybody in there. But how many kids did? Okay, there are children in the city who lost their moms, their dads, their family members, their friends. I mean, and these kids and they were watching this all day long. I was traumatized, and I was an adult. I was 50 years old when that happened. And I can imagine a child watching this all day. And all they saw was, if you saw it one time, you saw it 100 times of people jumping out of that building, of the planes hitting there. So just imagine how these kids feel and how scared they were. And they don't know how to handle their emotions. Okay, so one of the things I was thinking afterwards, I wasn't an author at the time. I didn't become an author until 2014. But they need something to take their minds off of it for a while, especially that day. If they had books that they could have turned to just to take their minds off of things for a while. I mean, I never went to college, so I don't have the education that a lot of you have here. So I don't know how to put into words of how I'm feeling or how I was feeling or how I think that kids feel, other than they need that time. They needed that day and during the weeks afterwards to absolutely step away from that. And reading is one of the ways that they could have done that. Now, my passion with my books is to get kids to read. So I'm trying to put all the books that I can in children's hands. And Elizabeth, we did send the books off to Maria today, so she ought to be getting them in a few days. And we let her know. Can you let her know that so
Yes,
that?
I actually contacted her today about something else, and I let her know that she's getting the books. So thank you for that.
Thank you for doing that. And so, book three of my series is based in New York City, which again, New York City, even though I've been in Texas for 40 years, New York City has always been close to my heart. And it's always going to be home. People ask, where I live. Well, home is always going to be New York. And so book three is in New York City. And one of the things that my character does, he goes around wherever he is and he has fun adventures, but he teaches kids life lessons in his stories also. So one of the things in New York, besides the usual Rockefeller Center and the Radio City Music Hall, he goes to the 9/11 Museum. And I'm a character in the book too. And I have to explain to him what went on that day, and he just became very sad and he just couldn't understand how that kind of thing could even happen, or that things like that even happened in the world. But Bill, are you ready to share the screen?
yes, I am. We're going to share 2 pages out of the book. One, what we tried to do is let kids know that it's okay to grieve. But so I'm going to show this here,
Absolutely.
and we just let me get the share right here.
Okay, and I have to put glasses on to read.
Okay. Can everybody see the book right now?
No? Yes, okay, now we can.
Okay, go ahead and read that page, then I'll turn the page.
Okay, so as you can see by the picture, he is in my character, little Pink Sir Pigglesworth there is just learning about what happened there. And so the book reads, the museum was full of pictures and artifacts from 9/11. What is all this? Sir Pigglesworth asked Joanne. She pointed to several pictures on the wall. On September 11, 2001, some very bad people crashed jet planes into two tall buildings here in New York City called the Twin Towers, she explained. This museum was built to honor and remember those people who died or were hurt during that time. Next page, Bill. Okay. Sir Pigglesworth wiped a tear from his eye. That sounds very sad, he said. Joanne nodded. It was, she said. Seeing how upset her little friend was, she bent down and picked him up. He blew his snout on her sleeve. Joanne tried to ignore the fact that there were pig boogers on her shirt. Her sister pulled out a tissue and wiped her sleeve. It's getting late, Jerry said. I think it's time to go back to our hotel and go to sleep. We have a very big day planned tomorrow with lots of things to do. And so if you can see by the picture there how he was very affected by it. And I wanted to children who were reading this and who maybe they weren't born at that time, so they didn't know anything about what happened, but to learn. And I think there was a page before that that said something about it also. And just for them to understand that things happen and it's okay to be sad and it's okay to grieve, but talk about it with your parents. All right, parents, I want my books to be able to start dialogues, parents and children to have dialogues and talk about what they're reading and you know, feelings of sad feelings and that it's okay to feel that way. And I'm sure a lot of kids at that time who were old enough had to have therapy. So thank you. You know, we have Gwen, we have Samantha, and all the other therapists who were able to help the children during that time. We very much appreciate that you all were there to help them. And
We
so,
do want to say that, book 3 is very upbeat. It's a very fun book, but we had to devote those 2 pages to 9/11 because it was so important.
yeah, I mean, you can't talk about New York City and not include that. That's part of New York's history now, you know,
Yes.
and it'll always be. And like I said, even though I wasn't there, I just felt so deeply for it. And I was so glad that I was able to be home and not have to be to work. I worked in a medical center, so we couldn't shut down for any length of time. There were people in the hospital. And so I wouldn't have been able to I was glued to this TV day and night for weeks and that all this went on. But thank you for, you know, Donna, for your service, of course. And yes, we do need to get together next time. And I'm in Austin. You're in Austin, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And next time I'm there, I want to call you up so that we can get together. My sister lives there, so I go and visit her. So I would love to see you again, Donna. Okay. And Elizabeth, thank you for doing it.
Well, thank you so much. And I'm sorry that we have to close, but we will let Elton do a prayer. And then if we missed anyone or didn't record anyone, get with me tomorrow and I'll make sure we record you. All right. So over to you, Elton.
All right. Well, now, there's no perfect way to do this and no unconclusive
One
way
second,
to
let me just
handle
stop recording
these
and
things.
bring you back. You're watching Discover Brightside and tell us what you think. We can only live if you subscribe to our channel and